Hi, Dan Hollander here for another fun segment of It's Your Money. So a lot of clients come to us and ask, do I need a trust? What do we need a trust for? Particularly if they're younger. It's hard to understand. It's often associated with an estate, death taxes. And for people that are at the early part of their career development and wealth accumulation, doesn't seem to make sense. So I thought I'd start by addressing the question of what other reasons other than tax and wealth transfer would there be to have a trust. So let's think about some of the scenarios. We'll do the parade of horribles. What would happen if you're married, you have a child, and there's a common disaster, you're both driving in a car and you're snuffed out and you have a child? A trust would allow for a successor trustee to care for that child, to be able to build a relationship with the guardian, to be able to have money available for that child during their lifetime, and provide for different ages of distribution when they're more mature to get principal. So being able to care for a survivor that's a minor is an important reason to consider having a trust. The alternative is that you go to a court. There's a probate, and the probate is having a judge get involved, and oftentimes it can be complex. It can be something that requires an annual audit by the courts. You lose control. A second scenario that you might consider is that if someone were to die, and now we fast forward and say the child's mature, the child ended up starting a business. If that business goes into bankruptcy, you don't want that child getting a big pile of money while they're going through a bankruptcy. So a trust would eliminate the need for them to have a cash settlement mess with their bankruptcy filing. A third is that, there are no guarantees, and there are some kids that need help handling a drug addiction. You don't want kids to be able to have a lot of money given to them when they have a problem such as a drug addiction. So having a trustee guided by your written intentions would be to withhold the distribution of property if it's the wrong time. Another wrong time is if they're going through a divorce. You don't want to mess with a divorce if you're protecting them and or grandchildren. So there's a whole host of reasons that a trust can protect monies and the objectives that you have in terms of distributing property. It is also something that allows for creditor protection. So if you're a dual professional family, as an example, and there's one of you that makes more than the other, you can put the weighted of savings into the spouse that's making less money, because that money will not be attached in a lawsuit by the other spouse. So you can have creditor protection as another reason to have a trust. So we need to consider those other than estate tax issues when contemplating whether you have a trust. There is important tax mitigation as well as having a trust. The current limits are over $22 million that you can transfer free of estate tax. But we have a new administration. And as you know, the new administration wants to raise taxes. And they're talking about going back to the 2009 limits, where you have the maximum transfer upon death of $7 million. So that would be $3.5 million per spouse if they both have funded trusts. Frankly, there's a lot of people that in their retirement years have more than that, and that would be of a concern. How do you mitigate that? When I first got into the business, it was $600,000 per spouse, $1.2 million. So know that it can change, but the idea is there's also that concern as well. There are many other things that we could talk about in terms of estate planning. For trust, that would be the short story. We'll talk more about power of attorney documents, both the patient advocate, which are in Michigan, the power of attorney for healthcare, and the durable power of attorney, which allows you to step in another's shoes for financial matters, along with how a will can be structured and how it can be considered a pour-over will if it's done in association with the drafting of a trust. These are terms of art. Don't worry too much about the gobbledygook the lawyers dish out, but they are important to understand fundamentally in terms of how you incorporate that in your long-term plans. Look forward to talking to you again soon. All right, bye-bye.